Good morning, Sir Maarten. What's up? What's cooking? Well, we have been having some serious blues falling over the weekend. Everybody claiming something, everybody doing something, they're saying, yet the country is still reeling in a lot of problems. But there are also good things. So I want to start off this morning by congratulating the St. Maarten Lions Club and the Alpha and Omega Leo clubs that have made the back to school program a success. Again, this morning, the Lions Club and I believe it was the Alphas, some Alphas and some Omegas, joined forces and were at the Sister Borgia School and the Reverend John Gums campus in Mac in Ebenezer, Betty Estate there. They were up there welcoming the kids back to school and naturally ensuring that they had a nice start with a juice box and a fruit box. So thank you all very much. I was unfortunately unable to attend, but naturally I will post the project later on my page also, because you got to be proud when you see how Lions do their thing. Yesterday was also a very interesting afternoon. I went to Ebenezer to the Mango Fest, and I must say, I enjoyed the atmosphere that was there. It was a very nice atmosphere. The residents were there, other people from other neighborhoods were there, and the theme was mango. I got mango tart, mango jam, mango juice. I even get a little passion fruit in between, mix-ups with mangoes in other juices. It was really nice to see also some community leaders from that area there having fun with the residents of Ebenezer. So at least we had some nice things also, besides some refreshing rains that we had during the weekend. Now, today I want to focus really on the country packages, and I chose 4 themes. I chose the bottom 4, and next week I'll do the top 4, because the top 4 is really the financial picture and the taxation, and I want to really continue going more in depth, because what I'm trying to do when we discuss these packages is put them in reality with what's happening in the country right now. How will that affect the country packages being implemented, or can they even be implemented in the conditions we find ourselves in? So that is something I want to discuss, because remember, the country packages, we have to pay for them ourselves with our budget, and seeing the situation we find ourselves in presently with our budget, that begs to question actually what's possible and what's not possible. But before we go there, I noticed there was a third notice now by the police asking the residents, the car owners, to please come to the police station with the proper documentation and come and pick up your car. Now, the problem this is happening lies, in my opinion, in the fact that a lot of people bought cars that might have been stolen. And when they reach there, they ain't going to have the papers the police are looking for. And very often, they're not going to show up. Some don't even know they have cars there, because not all cars were put out in the media. Maybe it would have been good if a photo shoot was done of the cars and place them on a Facebook page of the police itself, so that people can go there and see which cars all they have confiscated. And in that way, maybe those that genuinely had their car stolen or whatever can go there with the right papers showing the proper VIN number if that wasn't filed off, so that they can get their car back. But I hope though that they don't go and auction off these cars now, make them legal, and then they're back on the road, because these cars were most probably taken in controls because something was wrong. So to auction them off and somebody goes and buys them for peanuts is defeating the purpose of the owners really being able to get back their car. I think we got to do a little more before we go down there. Now, there was a whole to-do about the chopping down of the tamarind tree in South Reward. The problem is, it didn't only happen there. It happened in other places also, I noticed. I saw pictures coming in because I was speaking to some people about it, and the unfortunate is, Yes, we trim trees. Yes, Public Works prune trees. And I say we because I used to be there. I know the program well. There are a few things that I don't understand. Why are we pruning a tree right up to its trunk? That's not pruning. That's just destroying a tree. You prune a tree to prevent it hanging over the road and damaging cars or pedestrians. That's when you go into a pruning. And pruning can be done using electrical machinery to cut it nicely instead of pulling it down. Trying to cut it and then pull it down because you damage the whole trunk and the back of the tree. When you look at South Reward, that's what you see. But when you look at Point Blanche, you also see that. And the question is, are we really checking this out the way it should be done? Because I don't believe a contractor is just going to go out there and cut down these things or do this if they were not spoken to. The question is, what were they told? Now, I spoke to some people who work with contractors, and the story is different. They were told not to prune until the trees stopped bearing, and seemingly they pruned the trees with fruits on them. Now, this is very unfortunate. I mean, I'm not going to drag this out more than it needs to be dragged out, but I think communication clearly seems to be not in its best form at this point in time. I think we should put certain things in writing to the contractors so we don't have a he said or she said, but we have documented evidence of what needs to be done, how it needs to be done, and when it needs to be done. Look, it's hurricane season and everybody is jittery. Mango season has been so good, so a hurricane must be coming. This is what going through a lot of people's mind right now. Don't fool yourself. Whenever you have a great mango season, you always get a little something afterwards. Now, I hope that's not the case. But I understand people prune, especially big trees, because they're afraid it falls on their house or on their car and damages the car or the property. The problem is, you maybe want to park your car differently or maybe prune the piece that's over the roof of the house. But you don't want to destroy the tree because that tree doesn't grow back in 6 months or 1 year. It takes years for a tree to grow to the sizes they are when we start pruning them. So I think we should be a little more careful with how we're doing this. Now, IMF has now put out a report, and they send a firm warning in this report. It's a 107-page report. It's not only about St. Maarten, but St. Maarten and Curacao get very special attention because of the Enya saga. Because it is the IMF's firm belief that the Curacao and the St. Maarten economy will be in shambles come end of this year if Enya has not been regulated. The countries, none of their economies can handle such a blow. None of them. And beside that, you're talking about 25,000 people give and take, 25 to 30,000 people give and take. St. Maarten got about 10%. So between 25 and 3,000 people in St. Maarten will lose majority of their pension. I think about 80% of their pension will be lost permanently. And St. Maarten itself, because of going to be then in a very serious problem economically, might also lose part of its rating. Now, a lot of people believe that you only lose your ratings when your economy collapses or your money is devaluated. Not necessarily. Not necessarily. When you start to grow a debt that you can't take care of, you're going to put your rating at risk. Look at America. The great America went from a AAA rating to a AA plus rating because for the past 2 decades, they have continuously built debt. That's the direction we are going. The difference is I think we are a B plus. So we're going to be in much more trouble than good old America. But I think it's important that we don't lose focus on the IMF report. We cannot continue playing cat and mouse, telling Holland, oh, it's a condition, you can't set that condition, and blah, 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 blah. Look, at the end of the day, the central bank belongs to St. Maarten and Curacao, not to the Netherlands. The central bank allowed the hero bank to go head under, and they allowed India to go head under. And nobody is held accountable for such in central bank. To the contrary, we parading people on stages, tell them how great they are, when they sat there and saw these things happen. You see, we got to stop this game of cat and mouse. The people need to understand that if this government doesn't get off its backside right now and fix India, make the compromises that need to be made. I am not blaming this Minister of Finance alone. Other ministers sat there. This started back in 2014 already. And it just continued going till 2018. The central bank stepped in. For 4 years in between there, look who the ministers of finance were. They allowed this to happen. And then, tell me who talking stupidity now. Because we seem to not want to talk about India, but we need to talk about India. India is a very, very serious issue for all of us. Not only for those that hold the pension. They're going to have a bigger problem because they can't make ends meet now after working 30, 40 years. The problem I have is that the economy can collapse. And if the economy collapses, the government will collapse. And if the government collapses, the people will suffer. Make no mistake about that. Anybody coming to help you, going to come in with you being in the cellar. Not being where you was and we go, oh, we're going to fix it from there. No, it doesn't work so. It doesn't work so. So we need to understand what we're up against. Now, our third quarter packages, our country packages. Like I stated last week, I was going to go through them. So I decided to take the theme of economic reform, the theme of, the theme of healthcare, the theme of education, and the theme of reinforcing the rule of law measures. Those 4 themes will be discussed today and reviewed the way I believe they look in how we're going to put it together and how we move from here with it. Now, when we look at economic reform and we look at what the objectives of the country packages are, it is 2 principal things. Establishing a sound, dynamic, and resilient economy. 2, establishing a robust and affordable social security system that applies stimuli at the right time and place. Now, if we look at the various aspects within the economic reform team, we will realize that they want to do an integrated analysis of the current labor market policy, legislation, and regulations will be carried out on the basis of which the labor market policy will be updated and modernized. Measures such as, and now I need you all to listen carefully, measures such as shorter working hours, part-time employment, short-term contracts, flexible dismissal laws, removal of obstacles to employing foreign workers, illegal employment, and tackling youth employment will be included in the analysis. Based on the analysis, proposals will be developed and implemented. Now, when I read this, again, it begs to question if we are living in St. Maarten or not. What do we need to analyze about foreign workers being here undocumented? You don't need to analyze it. You need to handle it. You need to deal with this matter if you want to protect youth unemployment or just basically unemployment of our own people. Again, you see, the problem in economic reform is not just the labor. It is the economy itself. We are not diversifying. We are not talking about how we're going to do that. We're not talking about getting higher paying jobs. We are talking about dealing with what we have here and see how we can fix that. That's not the solution. That is not the solution. Making it easier to fire people and bring in foreigners because that's what we want to promote is going to create a problem in this country. And we can bring in the blah blah envy and give us all kind of different stories. Fact of the matter, it's written here. I didn't write this. I just copied it and put it here to debate it and discuss it, because I think we need to look at what's really happening. You know, we need to understand that whatever policy we write, people cannot live in the economy we have, in the expenses that this country puts on the table. The Social Economical Council in Curacao drafted basically what it would cost for people to live in Curacao. In St. Maarten, you have what they call the bovenwinse toelage. Just smell it a little bit. We should be around 3,500 guilders a month. The anti-poverty platform spoke of that 2 years ago, and I told them I can't believe that, where these numbers coming from. And I was surprised when I saw how the numbers were truly calculated, using some of the basics: housing, utilities, healthcare, and food. And then you will come to that norm. You will come to this 3,500 guilders. So you can create all kinds of policies. You want to shorten the work week. That means less money for people. They ain't getting the same money. If they're working 32 hours instead of 40 or 48, they're going to be paid for 32 hours. Not 40, not 48. Yet, GB don't go down. GB don't say, well, I'm going to get 2 days off too. You get 2 days free. Food, you don't stay and say, I ain't going to eat for 2 days in a week. It doesn't jive, people. It isn't jiving. And this is the danger with these things. Because when you see who is doing it and what our say really is, you start to scratch your head. And it's an election year, so people say, oh, we're going to do this because of elections. No. I've been doing this for the past 2 years. But this is the third quarter report of 2023. So I'm going to discuss it today. But this is what we're looking at. This is what we're looking at with this point. Are we really removing the obstacles to tackle unemployment and youth unemployment? Are we tackling illegal unemployment? I don't think so. I don't think we are. Because illegal unemployment means you don't have a work permit or you don't have a residency permit. It means you're undocumented. Because any local with a passport is not employed illegally. So it means that the immigration aspect needs to be also discussed. And while we talk about putting immigration and the work permits together, I need to see that happen yet, because they have spoken about it so often. They even said people that have illegals unemployed, please come and register them, and you have to hold on to certain criteria, but we ain't guaranteeing nothing. Now they extend it onwards into September, because it seems not to really be working. But nobody going to come and register just like that. If they got in the back of the head that you're going to tell them no, and now you know they had illegals unemployed, so you're going to raid their place, find them, and create one big sham in their business. Nobody ain't crazy. We know how it works. Everybody knows how it works here in St. Maarten. You raid places, oh, the rest to come. Nobody else can get raid since then. But this was just, we picked that one first. But the one right across the road, we didn't do either, right, Minister? And up until today, you ain't do nothing. So when you start to target businesses, this is the problem. Nobody gonna believe you anymore. Nobody believes nobody anymore. But we're gonna talk about that in the rule of law, because I ain't done with them yet. The informal economy and illegal work will be dealt with. And based on the study into the scale of the informal economy, proposals will be developed and implemented. Now, listen, they don't even put a timeline when they're going to do this in this piece of the study. We know what the informal economy is. We call it the gray economy. We saw what happened in the pandemic. We saw how many people needed food vouchers, needed food because they were not employed, they were not registered by SZV, they were not registered by the tax office, but they were hungry. So what are we waiting on? I don't understand this. You all got to explain to people of St. Maarten why you're playing these games with people. We know of the informal economy since COVID. We saw the devastation then. We have done absolutely nothing, zero about it. And in the country packages, they didn't feel shame either. They said they're going to incorporate it in a study, but there's no timeline whatsoever for it. I mean, listen, the informal economy has no rules other than you work, you get paid. There's no taxes, there's no premiums. They are all illegal workers. All. And that's not being addressed. Because nobody wants to deport nobody wants to say nothing because somebody can't afford to lose a vote. What was the agreement with the border control with the Dutch then for? To sit at the airport and scratch people's passports and look if it's valid? You all can't be serious. You all cannot be serious. But we're going to talk about this whole Dutch thing because they want to make cuts. Lots of millions. And you're going to see where it's going to go. Now, illegal employment of foreign workers will be dealt with. A study will be carried out into illegal employment of foreign workers. Based on the results and recommendations, proposal will be developed and implemented. Here again we go. A study. No timelines, nothing. Nothing of the sort. Now mind you, right now they expand the deadline to September so people could come and register their illegal workers. Is that the study you carried out? That's what you're doing? That's how you're studying it? You think people gonna come and tell you, hey, I got 10 unemployed? Or illegals unemployed? Nobody gonna come and tell you nothing. They prefer to take the chance because right now the fine is peanuts. So they prefer to pay the fine and or try to get away with it altogether. I mean, listen. This whole pilot project that came ain't went no place. And it ain't gonna go no place because nobody trusts the government. There's too much of fan favoritism going on. And that's a problem. And when you lose that trust, you're not gonna get it back just like that. Definitely not by a few things. We're going to adjust the laws to levy fine when employers are caught with illegal workers. You walk down Front Street, in every store you'll find them. But you can't do that because you'll lose majority in parliament. You can't do it. They told you will find them. And if you try, you'll be removed as minister. Tell the people what's going on. Since we're talking about country packages, it ain't real. It's just paper, it ain't real. Because you all are afraid to do what needs to be done. And I have a problem with that. And like I told you, exposure time is close by. And I'm going to start talking about it. I'm going to start talking about it. Because I need to understand how this whole study will fall in line with the adjustment of the laws to allow foreign workers to come into our country. Because you stated in the beginning that you're going to review to leave foreign workers come in here easier, cut the red tape and all that. So there's no need then for any illegality. If you're going to give everybody a permit, there's nothing wrong. Then everybody gonna come in, there won't be nobody illegal, and hopefully everybody will pay their premiums and their taxes and not be working on minimum wage and then get it under the table so they don't have to pay. Like we clearly saw when we were doing the payroll support program. You see, the abuse of the worker permit and the resident permit isn't truly being addressed, other than saying you're going to synchronize both of them. If there was an application for a work permit, that should have included the resident permit one time. Instead of saying when you get a work permit, then you come for the residence permit, and if the residence permit takes too long, the work permit expires. Listen, it's crazy. One application, done. And if you comply with what's on the application, you get your permit. You don't need 20 people reviewing it. And this one thing, they got a pen of the power, so they're going to stop it and they're going to postpone it for 10 months. That got to stop. It got to stop. Honestly, the system of Social Security will be given an activation function with the appropriate stimuli, while also ensuring an adequate social catch net. Based on existing and or additional studies, proposals will be developed and implemented, viewed in combination with the measures concerning the reform of the labor market. I think it's a great concept. We already used to have a social catch net. It existed. It was in Ebenezer. For all those that don't know, it was in Ebenezer. There was a home there. There was a good gentleman, he passed at this point in time, that used to take care of all the people that were socially in need of a job, and sometimes didn't fit into the market all too well. They were trained there to fit the market, fit a specific job, and go and do something and make an income so they could survive. That's what that net used to do. And please, it failed because the gentleman passed and nobody replaced. But it can work. We just need to find the dedicated people to do this, because it is truly needed in St. Maarten. It truly is needed. So it is a good concept, and I truly hope that we pay serious attention to it. But understand something, that when you create this social net and you give people jobs there, understand that the minimum wage that we have in St. Maarten is not a livable wage. And these people are what you call people with additional needs. They might also be a little bit physically challenged or mentally challenged, but they got human beings. So we got to figure out how we're going to get to this livable wage, because that's not being discussed in this whole country package. I can't find it. I can't find how we're going to get to a livable wage. And a livable wage is 3,500 guilders a month. And I told you all once before already, when I spoke about this livable wage, that we are going to have to find a subsidizing mechanism. And I told you all how I believe we can do that with import duties and gathering an additional 75 million guilders a year to do this. We are going to have to subsidize in housing. We're going to have to subsidize in food, in education. You see, I'm going to talk about it later in my closing, about this nonsensical craziness with schools. I'm going to address it later, so I ain't going to touch it right now. Let me just move through. If we don't get to a livable wage, we will continue enhancing poverty in this country, because there are 70+% of our working population earning less than a livable wage, which means they are living in poverty. St. Maarten is going to raise the retirement age to 66 in 2025, unless an independent study shows that raising the retirement age to 65 in 2025, to 66, sorry, in 2025 is not realistic, and there are alternative proposals with the same budgetary effect. An independent economic institute appointed by the Coho in consultation with the country, or Coho don't exist anymore, yet they are writing it, is to show you what we're talking about. Will map out the structural beneficiary effects, budgetary effects, sorry, for the affordability of pensions and Social Security if the retirement age is raised to 66 years in 2025, and where to be further raised by the indexing to life expectancy, and will calculate any alternative proposals. The outcomes will be presented to St. Maarten and the Netherlands, followed in consultation by an assessment of how the study results should be implemented. Now, let me simplify this for you all. Very simple. The Dutch has placed a condition that we need to raise our pension age from 65 to 67. In Holland, they're going all the way up to 70 years already. The life expectancy of a man is approximately 78 years, and that of a female is about 81 years. That's the average life expectancy. So if you work till 67, you have 11 years of pension as a man, and as a woman, you have a little more. I think it's, what I said, 81, so you have 14 years, sorry, of pension. That's what they're telling you. You work 35 years to get a full pension, and then you have 8 years or 11 or 14 years. But in this sentence, they throw in that they will see how to continue increasing based on life expectancy. Now, for pension funds to be able to meet the quota of the pensions, they have to be above 104% of the pension quota. 104%, that means they always have a balance, a surplus going over positively. Holland is becoming grayer and grayer, so it's getting more and more expensive in Holland. So they keep raising the pension age. You'll notice also in Holland there's significant shortages on certain professions because people are not studying them. Now in St. Maarten it's a little different because we do have a lot of people that are studying but they're not coming back. So good paying jobs are not coming back to St. Maarten to pay into the pension fund. We talk about creating a national health insurance, but we also have to look at what's going to happen with people when they go on pension, because we take care of them medically, they live longer, but we have no provisions for them. We have a stipend that we give in the AOV, but the AOV ain't gonna last. Not the way things are going now. Ain't gonna last. And if we have now that AOV is paid to everybody who lived in St. Maarten, irregardless to where they are living now. So a money flight out of the country from AOV funds is seriously taking place right now. Let nobody fool you with that. Ask the minister to get those numbers and put them out publicly, and you will see how much money leaves this country. And some of these people didn't even ever paid into the funds. But that's a different story altogether. Entrepreneurship and the investment climate will be prompted in connection. To do this, it is essential that, among other things, the licensing system be optimized, the cost of doing business lowered, and bureaucracy red tape removed. Proposals will be developed and implemented on the basis of an integral review of, among other things, laws and legislations. Now, I'm extremely happy to read that, because the bureaucracy here, the red tape here, is what destroys businesses. I'll give a simple example. You ask for a business license. You get it. Then you need an operating license. So when you ask for the operating license, they tell you, okay, but where are you going to operate? Show me the contract. So I have to go and rent a place to then come back to the government, show them where I'm renting, so they can go and inspect it and see if it's okay with the fire department, the health department, the economics department. That can take you 6 months to a year. You know who paying the rent? You are. You know who ain't doing business? You are. You know who losing all their money? You are. And when people start to work then and open their business illegal because they need to pay rent, you get upset. But you need 6 months to a year to give a business license. Why is that? So I agree. Get rid of the red tape. Leave people apply online, and if they meet the criteria, they get their license. And the operating license should not be tied directly to if you rented something or not, because if that is the case, then you should have within 2 weeks your whole operating license calculated so people can then do this. Because other than this, it's going to be a serious problem. You're killing people with their money. They can't handle this. But again, I am happy to see how this is going to work. Now, this is one of the conditions where the Dutch are involved, and basically the regulations are being amended to ensure that everybody get equal rights. So this whole part about the entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurs that were born in St. Maarten had certain privileges at the Chamber of Commerce. Those are now being removed, and anybody can become an entrepreneur. Anybody from wherever can become an entrepreneur and have the same rights as another person. Right now, they have to go and ask for a license. So let's say if a Dutchman comes here and he wants to be an entrepreneur, he has to ask for a business license to become an entrepreneur. They're going to legislate this and make it much easier, that you just ask to be an entrepreneur, you go to the chamber, you can register, and you will get it. That's the direction they're going. Or they're going to make the business license so fast and so simple that it might be just as fast as registering by the chamber for the local. So let's see what this is going to do, and let's see where it's going to go. I noticed though that at this point in time, this is scheduled to be done someplace next year, June. My thing is this. We have realized the problems that how many people that go and ask for the entrepreneurial program assistance by the World Bank are not qualifying. Maybe I would have hoped to see that some of those millions of dollars that are sitting there would have been tied into this program with the Dutch's approval, because it's their money basically that is sitting at the World Bank. But I didn't hear too much of that. And then the last one that caught my eye in this is the development and implementation of land policy and spatial plan policy. Now, this land policy, this spatial plan policy. The spatial plan means we're getting zoning laws. That's basically what I read in there. How we're going to allocate the land, what you can build where, how you can build it, etc., etc. That's zoning. The land policy, now that's a different story. Because basically, a policy has to be made so the minister loses that authority he had to decide. So they are adjusting the law there. I think it's a good thing because Parliament requested this, and I think this had to be brought in since last year. It never came. They come with a little sassy piece of paper that held no water. It's in the country packages because the Dutch don't trust the government with this land business. They just simply don't. That's why it's in there. So again, when people tell you, oh, we do this, you do shoots. Otherwise, this would have said completed, but it doesn't. It doesn't. So next time, when you're all speaking about land policy in Parliament, ask the minister where it be. Because it ain't completed. It is still in the third quarter of the country packages to be done in 2023. So we're going to hear about it yet. Let's go over to another theme, healthcare. When I read the core areas of the healthcare country packages, we are looking at the following. Managing and ensuring continued management of COVID-19. Securing the continuity of acute care. And 3, the efficient structuring of care and establishing a robust and affordable care system. That last one is the one that I'm very concerned about. That we're managing the COVID-19, yes. The necessary ICU beds are available when needed. Packages with masks and all those things, the supplies are there. I think the country has been doing a good job. I think CPU has been doing a good job to ensure that we monitor COVID-19 and we ensure that if another pandemic would strike, we are in a better position. We learned from the previous pandemic what to do and what not to do, when to do it and how to do it. So I think we're okay there. I ain't going to make too much of a dive into that. When it comes to the securing of the continuity of the acute care, I noticed that in the framework of the efficiency, unnecessary duplications in care provisions by the various hospitals. You hear that word? Various hospitals, because this is where it's gone. It is the Dutch, what we call it, the Dutch Caribbean Hospital Association. They came together, they said, listen, let's work together, let's see what we can offer each other in the Caribbean when it comes to acute care. You try to not be sending people to Colombia, Panama, if it can be done in Curacao or maybe Aruba or even here in St. Maarten. We're trying to cut that cost. And I must say, if I read the report correctly, I think it's 90 and 95% of the cost was cut, and the cost was over 40 million per year. So I think that's a great thing. I think that's really a great thing, and kudos to that. SFV has been able to do well. I know with a delay in the hospital, I don't know what that's going to mean for our acute care, because construction is ongoing now. So certain areas in the hospital are a little less user-friendly. And with acute care, you need certain sterilization and bases. And I know sterilization was a problem some time ago. I spoke about it a few months ago. I don't know how that has now regrouped a little bit and gotten better. But again, they're looking at buying medication together, equipment, materials, which is a cost-saving factor. So those are good things, and I don't see an issue with those type of things. I like that we also want to train our people regionally. And when we say regionally, I'm trying to understand how that regionally is. Is that, for example, in hospitals in Barbados or in Jamaica, or I don't know, St. Lucia, St. Kitts. I don't know really, because I don't think the training can only be in Curacao. So I want to know if there's training on special things. You know, so again, they also want to know, do the medical specialists who provide insured care as an employee of the hospital? This is what they call a sterfhuisconstructie. You get rid of those things that are killing your operations by selling those that can survive to a third party so it can move on, and they will survive. So basically, if you read this here, it is that the doctors, the specialists, are not going to be working for the hospital anymore. They'll be working for themselves. That would mean that the cost towards the hospital goes down, the hospital cost goes down, and the insurance companies will be paying the medical practitioners, the specialists, not the practitioners, the specialists directly. This is something where I am trying to get better information on it, because there was a whole court case in Curacao with the medical specialists, them being paid more by the hospital itself with a special agreement because they were not part of the top income earners. Remember, these people make more money than the Prime Minister sometimes, and that's not allowed. They're supposed to make 130% of the Prime Minister's salary. So if the Prime Minister was 20,000, they can make 26,000. But that's not the case. We all know we have doctors that make 30, 40,000 dollars every month. A heart specialist is not going to come down here and work on mediocre terms because somebody feel that that's all they can make in St. Maarten and Curacao at this point in time. And mind you, this is a law that was supposed to just be for the COVID period, but they made it mandatory permanently. And that's creating a very serious problem within the medical world. Like it or not, that's the reality. And we have to deal with these realities. All right, the reassessing the method of funding and the rates for second-line healthcare together with health insurers and the Dutch Healthcare Authority. Now, all of these things, I believe, are in the right direction. I spoke to some of the healthcare professionals in St. Maarten, and they also believe it's going in the right direction. So again, let's move on. Don't make too much noise when something is going good. Praise it and move on. The third one, the efficient structuring of care and establishing of a robust and affordable care system. Now, what they want to do is they're placing a lot of these responsibilities by the Dutch Caribbean Hospital Association. And I am cautious with that. I'm very, very cautious with that. I don't think that is the wisest thing to do. While we do what I mentioned up there already, buying medication together, getting specialists together, run the treatments through the hospitals locally, I don't know if that is going to give us a robust and affordable care system. Why do I say this? Because the care system in Curacao is in shambles. It is one of the most expensive healthcare systems in the world. They are an integral part of the DCHA. Holland's hospitals are not involved. The Dutch Caribbean, that's Bonaire, Sebastian. Not Amsterdam, not Rotterdam. We need to understand what we're talking about. We really need to start understanding what we're talking about. So in that aspect, I don't know if we are going to, through the DCHA, that Dutch Caribbean Hospital grouping, if that's going to give us a robust system. A robust system needs to be built from the bottom. That means we are talking about this national health insurance. Where is it going to fit in? Because remember, SFV has 3,000 illegal people insured. You know why? Not because they want to, but because they're obligated to. Because the law says, if you're employed, you must be insured. So people are illegally employed, but insured, because the law says so. And remember we were talking before the economic reform, oh, we're going to deal with the illegal unemployment. But you know it there. What is so difficult? To get the names from the businesses and the people from SFV and deal with it. Go deal with it. Stop blah-blahing about you're going to deal with it, putting it in writing and all kind of stupidness, but you're not dealing with it. You don't need to study this. The information is right there. It's right there. But there's a different reason why you don't want to do that. Just tell the people. Just tell the people why. But stop talking to the people as if they are dumb and they can't see through the smoke screens. And that's why I keep telling you, when you look at these things, we sign off to these things as a country and we know we're not going to do it. Then we have a problem as a country because the problem ain't going to go away. Right now, SFV covers the whole family. So if I look at myself, I pay a premium and my wife also gets medical insurance. And if my children were still young, they too would have gotten it. But they are not paying a premium. Only I am. Do you understand? With 70% of your population living below the livable wage norm and 54% living at the minimum wage line, that all those families are also covered by SFV, but they're not paying the premium. So if only the head of the family, be it the man or the woman, is working, everybody else is insured. If the man is working and the wife is working, they will both be paying SFV, but for themselves, based on their salary, not for their children, but their children are insured. The same happens with seniors. That's why the SFV gives a policy right now, they call it 60 pluses. A senior gives 10% of their income and they are insured. That's what's happening right now, people. But the cost has skyrocketed. So the income is $100 and the payout is $150 or $180. Meaning they are bleeding the ZV fund to death. And the question is, how long yet can they afford to do this before SFV goes belly up? And people say, oh, it can't happen. Can't happen? You'll see how fast they'll blow through a few hundred million when healthcare goes crazy. This is the issue. How do you make it robust that don't happen? It means everybody got to pay. And we're going to drop the healthcare level to a lower level that we can afford. That's what it means. That's what this means. But nobody coming out to tell you that. Because it's elections. And that's unfortunate. That's truly unfortunate. I prefer to be honest with the people and let them know what we can do than promise them fantasy world when we know we can't deliver that. And this stupidity about a promise made is a promise kept, please keep your promises for yourself, because it's a comfort to a fool. A lot of things are going to be happening, and come January 1st, we're supposed to have the national health insurance in place. I don't see this happening. Yes, they're going to try to rush it through Parliament. They're going to try to rush it through with the 8 they have, or if they have 8 yet. But they're going to try to rush it through. And might is right. Remember how they used to blame the DP? But might is right, and they're always doing this, but you're all going to do it now to a bunch of people. And the national health insurance is going to be one of them. The national health insurance is not ready. It is not ready. They're still looking at it. The Council of Advice gave their urgent advice. I believe it was in July. They were supposed to get it back. That was written in the document, that the urgent advice is to be received the end of July. I don't know if they did receive it, but normally the Council of Advice does be on the ball. They just do that. An awareness campaign had to start already. That's presently delayed. The draft laws have to be presented in Parliament in August, hopefully. I'm seeing these things happening. I'm being honest. I don't see it happening. You know why? They don't have 8. They don't have 8 members in the council, in the Parliament right now, supporting the coalition. The chairman is out there. He's going to be out for the next 2 months. The chairman did quadruple bypass surgery. He's going to be out for a while. And the problem is, if the opposition doesn't believe in the national health insurance the way it's structured, we got a problem. The country has a problem, and this is my issue. We are across each other instead of with each other on certain matters, and that is not politics. Country above self, we always said. But if you keep holding back and not showing Parliament anything, and then you believe Parliament is your rubber stamp because you have 8, you're going to have a problem. I think what needs to happen in Parliament, and maybe this is one of the things I want to look at, when we are going to change laws, majority doesn't count. 2/3 count. You need about 10 people or 12 people. Same thing with your constitution. You want to change the constitution, you need 2/3, and you hope Holland allows you to do it. Those are things that we need to start looking at and changing. Those are the realities we have to deal with. Again, these are simple things that I believe we have to deal with. We have to look at the bleeding to death of the fund. We have to look at everybody starting to pay for their insurances, the health insurances, and we have to see what's going to happen with these undocumented workers. We have to deal with it if we like it. It isn't that I'm against them, but if we can't even take care of our own, why are we taking care of others? This is the reality we have to deal with, people. And I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but you know what? I'm not here to talk sweet to you. I'm here to tell you the truth, the way I see the truth. Education. This is another something that I'm not going to slam it today because I don't have enough information, but I know an evaluation was done and a complete report was made, and based on that evaluation, the Ministry of Education right now is working on it. I don't know if the minister supports the evaluation that came out or not. That is not clear to me. I haven't really seen, because the things that he was doing with the special education, putting them at a school, was exactly what the report said not to do. So I don't know if he's doing it. I know he has a big issue with the management of the ministry. He wants to put a new SG. He wants to put a new head of the division, education division. He wants to put a new head by the division of innovations. All things that at this point in time, when you are implementing a study that was done by these people that I just mentioned in the ministry, that you want to change them halfway down the river, tells me that you don't support what's happening. You don't agree with their positions. So you want to ram through your position on education. One that I know you don't master. You don't understand it. For God's sakes, you don't even speak the language. Come on, man. Do yourself a big favor. Do this country a big, big favor. Stay away from this thing. Let the professionals deal with it. Leave the people in position. If the next minister that comes in believes that what you were saying was right, let him make the change. He has 4 years to fix it. You have a few more months to go, and the education system will not be finished by that time. It can only be stagnated or delayed more because of this type of behavior. So I would say just move on, and do something else. Remember, this education review was in depth. It looked at the educational quality, the teaching method, and the resources. It looked at the connection between the education and the labor market. It looked at the transition between nursery, primary, secondary education, and secondary vocational education, so the MBO. It looked at the higher education. It looked at the university, especially in the European Netherlands and elsewhere. All of these things were looked at when they were doing this. They were looking at the efficiency and effectiveness of education funding, mitigation, inefficiencies and mitigating inefficiencies in the system. So this group of people, they really went in depth. They wrote a significant report. I haven't heard the minister up until today discuss this whole report and tell the public what it is. We're working on it, we're working on a plan. No, it's not about working on the plan. It is what is there that you are going to work for on the plan. Tell us the findings. Let the community of St. Maarten know what they found. Put the report on the government website. Or is it such a big secret? Will it reveal that what you are doing is not what was found and what was advised not to do, or what was advised to do? You see, look, these are the things that we have to try to understand what's really happening. What is the evaluation of the education system? And then when everybody understands that, including you, Minister, then I'm sure the plan of approach will be ready properly. Because it's supposed to be ready by the 30th of September of this year. And I want to give the ministry, not the minister, the Ministry of Education, the benefit of the doubt, because I know those are serious people. I ain't going down there. But I do have a problem with the minister, the way he's treating the education system. Because he believes that this is some kind of recipe that you bake. This ain't a recipe. These are human beings you're talking about. This is the future of the country. An educated country is a well-developed country. Don't fool yourself. Reinforcing the rule of law. There are a few things in here. Capacity. The capacity is a serious issue. Council of Law Enforcement stated that. What's unfortunate though is that there's no funding being truly allocated for the country to upgrade and enhance their capacity in the various justice chains, other than the Netherlands pumping 25 million euros every year into the RST, TBO, and the Public Prosecutor's Office. And that is their God-given right, because they said they are going to help with certain things. But they ain't trusting our force. They ain't trusting our police force to say, let me go help get capacity there. Let me help educate youngsters there. Let me open the doors. Maybe bring in 30, 40, 50 of them into the Netherlands, educate them up there for a year or two, and then send them back down. And this will be part of our plan. No, we ain't doing that piece. That piece we ain't doing. What we're doing is we send down more TBO, more RST, and we beefing up the prosecutor's office so they can prosecute more people. The problem is, you have created a crooked line now. Because, okay, so you prosecute the people, but you can't lock them up. Because there's no jail. Inhumane capacity holding. Police station. They just changed the law now. You can't hold people 10 days no more. It's 3 on 3. 3 days extension, 3 days. 6 days maximum. Not about 10 days anymore. So prosecutors are going to work faster. Investigations are going to work faster. But you don't have the capacity. And you ain't doing nothing about the capacity. Do you understand how we're going across each other? We are not, all noses are not in one line. I need you all to look at these things, because it doesn't help. And I'm happy, for example, that the Minister of Justice said we're going to use the ankle bracelets. And there was a whole thing about it. But you're going to need people to work in the Department of Justice, where they do the parolee control. They'll do also the anklet bracelet control, etc. You're going to need more people there. You're going to need a system. You're going to have to build the capacity there. And again, you can easily put 50 people on bracelets, or 100 if need be, because locking up people that did something that is non-violent, you have to look at the financial picture. It's easier said, boy, put him in jail for 5 years, 10 years. You know what it costs to put him in jail? If you're paying about 300 guilders a day for an inmate, multiply the 300 by 365. Put 2 zeros behind the 365 and you're at 36,500. Multiply that by 3. You're at 100+ thousand guilders per inmate. So you lock him up for 10 years, it costs you 1 million guilders as a country. You understand why in Holland they started closing the prisons? And put them in halfway houses, let them go on weekends, let them do all kind of things? Because the cost didn't solve the crime. Crime was still happening. Violent crime is a totally different story. But regular crime? I don't know. I don't know. Is it fair that you only lock up those that stab or shoot somebody and not those that defraud the country or defraud the insurance or defraud this or stolen somebody's house? Again, if somebody goes in somebody's house and steals their jewels and all that and pawns it off, but didn't see the people, didn't do nothing with the people, versus one that goes in with a gun, butts the owner in his head and then takes the money, they are two totally different crimes. One was violent, one was non-violent. And the question is, how do you punish them? These are the type of things that I hope eventually this country sits back, gets rid of that behavior of they must go in jail, they must do this and they must be that, because then somebody feels elated, somebody feels happy, but the country can't afford it. Don't fool yourself, we can't afford it. But we can continue doing it and it's going to be a problem. Our gambling legislation. This is not something by fiat anymore. This is something by justice. And the Dutch are basically putting it together for us because we seem not to be able to do that. Every time you ask the fiat ministry, yeah, we're working on it, yeah, but it's not yours. The Dutch seem to be putting the gambling legislation together. They're working on it with the TWO. The advice and the feedback, unfortunately, it didn't reach yet. And the gambling addiction, the one I was most concerned about, unfortunately will not be done. Because the company that had to do the study and they ain't get through yet. Hogwash. Hogwash. Because the Netherlands is involved. They have that legislation. They know what to do. They know how to do it. Why we can't carbon copy that? I mean, I don't understand you all. When it's convenient, we don't. You all gotta explain it to me because I don't understand it. I truly don't understand it. The whole proposal for the organizational structure of the St. Maarten Gaming Authority, there is still no date set for it. And again, they will receive advice and feedback from the Netherlands, and the business case assignment and how this will look is once again delayed. You see what I mean? When I read these things, I cannot wonder anymore. I am nearly convinced that this is being guided by a third party, not by the government. Absolutely not by the government. Up until today, we don't have clarity even on what legislations all are needed and other regulations are needed of a higher order. So the few little things on Ireland we know, but what it means within the Constitution or whatever else, we have no clue right now. We have no clue. I don't even understand anymore what the role of fiat ministry is in this. Because this is a justice doing. This is under H2 in the rule of law enforcement. Gambling legislation. It's by justice, not by fiat. The improvement of the detention centers. You remember in 2018, some 5 years ago, they came to a completion state and they decided, okay, this is what we're going to do, blah. A lot has happened since 2018. We have had prisoner strikes, we have differences. The minister went up there, we changed management up there. A lot of different things, good and bad. Bottom line is, where are we today? So we signed with UNOPS. Remember the minister and the prime minister, everybody went to Denmark, I believe, for the photo op to sign UNOPS agreement. And where are we now? Where are we now? Because I still don't understand where we are. Do we have the money on the budget to build the prison? Because they were going to get a loan of 69 million this year. Has that loan been given? And how much of that money is now going towards the prison instead of giving it to the Minister of Romy to go build some roads so we can eat roads for campaign again and hopefully see what happens. Instead of fixing the inhumane system the people that are incarcerated in, we don't do that. And I need a better follow-up. You know, when I read it, it says a follow-up agreement should have been reached by July 1st, 2023 to start the actual construction of the prison. That's written. I haven't heard this, that we go do groundbreaking in the first week of August because we're going to start to build. I don't know. I haven't heard it. But again, these are the things that we need to understand. Now, mind you, it's clear that we have some problems with justice. It's clear. But I have a bigger concern because we speak of capacity. And there was a whole to do with the police officers about their function books and their placement letters and their new salary scales and their back pay. And the question is, have we now come to an agreement to pay the people? Are they going to be paid this year? How much money is needed to pay these people? And over how many years are we planning to pay them? These are simple things that is also good for the public to know. I am sure there might have been discussions with the police and the police union, but maybe it will be good if the minister can come out and explain that to the public also, so we have an understanding and the rationale of how that is going to work. Elections are coming, people. And every week I try to give you an indication on what I believe is happening in the electoral world. Now, I was nearly left speechless, and that doesn't happen very often. I'm very well versed with words, but when I read the article filled with political rhetoric of an NA MP stating that suddenly he believed parents are panicking because of school starting and they will have an issue with school fees, uniforms, etc., I looked up and asked the Almighty if I am going blind with what I'm reading. I could not believe that we can stoop this low. Honestly. And all those that are given bags, haircuts, whatever, God bless you all. I'm not going to criticize you because I believe if somebody wants to do something from the good of their heart, be it for political reasons or any other, and somebody is benefiting of it, God bless you. But you know what the issue at hand is here? We know every year there's a school fee issue, there's a uniform issue, there's a this issue, there's a that issue. Have we done anything to enhance the people's buying power? No, we haven't. No, we haven't. Up until today, they can't even give them the 98 guilders to the pensioners they promised them. We can't fix the minimum wage to a livable wage. So do the math. How much does it cost on school fees for 10,000 children? 5 million guilders, give and take. If we would say 500 guilders a child, or if we say 700 guilders, 7 million. What would have been the issue for the government to take that 7 million and proportionally give it to the schools where school fees are being demanded from parents? So that means the parents don't need to pay school fee. No parent needs to pay it. Then we want to start looking at the uniform policy. I agree that children should wear uniforms, some sort of uniform, so you can distinguish the schools. I agree with that. But it is crazy when you see the prices that are being charged for uniforms. $25 a polo, $30 for this, $20 for that. Before you finish buying three polos, 3 pants or skirts, a gym a shirt, a gym short, the socks, the special black shoes that the school demands, you're a few $100s further per child. Parents can't afford this. Now, I know we're going to want to throw it also in other things, and I'm going to discuss that just now with our special weekend we had. But at the end of the day, I am not saying that government has to pay for everything. But government must regulate certain things. School fees has been one of these debated issues of, is it legal, yes or no? Is a school allowed to ask a child for tuition? I am not sure on the answer, so I'm not going to give an answer. But the government could have found the money to do this and alleviate the burden that's on the people right now. Lots of children go to school hungry every morning. Every morning, not sometimes, every morning. Because parents just can't afford 3 meals a day. So they'll eat 2 or 1. And the child fends for itself because a parent is working 2 jobs trying to make ends meet. And we might not want to hear this story, but I want you to open your ears because this is reality, people. This is the reality of St. Maarten. We are not helping our own when we behave the way we behave. We are not. We truly are not. And it's unfortunate. But we need to find a solution that maybe we can reintroduce. Like when I was going to the kindergarten and sister school back in the 60s and early 70s, we would get a bread and cheese and a hot cup of milk or chocolate milk, cocoa milk in the morning. Every child that came to school could have gotten it. Even if they had eaten at home, it was there for them. But that child had a full tummy when he went into class, and he would function instead of sleep. Because very often when you see a child sleeping in class, it's because that child is hungry, or that child has a problem at home and can't sleep. These are things that we should be addressing. You want to fix this nation? Then fix it people first. Because if you can't fix their people, then you ain't going to fix this nation. You can make any law you want. A hungry man is an angry man. And the best investment you can make is in the knowledge of a person. You know, unfortunately, we need to see how we're going to do this. But I have more problems that I think politically need some attention. I can remember some time ago, a few weeks ago, there was a young lady that has swam about 5-6 times representing St. Maarten with the flag. All over they go. They were, and the girls can swim. Those 2 little sisters, they can really swim. But the last meet, they couldn't make the 4,500 they needed to go to the meet. And they thanked everybody who had helped in the past, but unfortunately they couldn't go. And I said, oh man, what a pity. Had we known maybe a little earlier, we could have tried to help. But when it came quite late. But I was surprised because I know they were swimming, and I really thought, hey, government is working with these people well because they are representing St. Maarten. They're not swimming there under their name. They're swimming with the St. Maarten flag also. That's part of their swimsuit. So I was I was disappointed when I realized that we had a basketball tournament and a complete team was sponsored by a few politicians and the tourism office of St. Maarten. And the 2 of these politicians work in the Ministry of Theatre's minister's office. That caught my eye. And when I saw the flyers, I saw on the flyer, there was a logo of a political party. Now you see, normally I don't delve into these things. But this one caught my eye, and I said, okay. Then over the weekend, we had another one. We had a big festival, and kudos to those that organized. But there were a few things I didn't understand too good. Because when it comes to the aspect of festivals and government putting money into the festivals, I asked myself, okay, is this for promotional purposes? Because it was a show, and the show is artists, and government doesn't pay for artists. Well, I know for sure with Carnival they don't do it, because I can recall speaking of this once before. They said the money they give to the, this was discussed on the floor of Parliament, the money they give to the Carnival Committee is not to pay for international artists in shows. I can recall that. So my question was, but what happened in here then? Because that's what it is. It's the show that they are sponsoring, and the artists are being paid. I mean, I think the artists them sang for free. But again, like I said, monies are being found for these things. But for the youngsters that have been faithfully representing this country, year in, year out, we couldn't find the money to have them swim at the meet. Because these meets is where they qualify to go into the world competitions. Priorities, clearly, those that we have are not the best for this country. But again, I am not going to be the one to judge alone. I am sure more people will judge in this one. The cruise industry has been very outspoken about the rundown state of Phillipsburg. Phillipsburg is a ghost town. Phillipsburg is looking bad. So what do you want? When Theo Heiliger was the commissioner and then minister, he built Phillipsburg with all the cobblestones and the trees and the boardwalk and all that. He did that, and Phillipsburg was a hustle and bustling place. I think since 2012 he didn't hold a ministerial position anymore, and Phillipsburg has taken a nosedive slowly but surely. We're going to build a marketplace now, and I'm saying all the marketplace is going to do is remove the tents and put a building. But what about the economy? Or are we just going to continue what we have? We're not going to diversify. We're not going. Everybody proud to say what we're going to do. But what are we doing? We're removing tents and put the building. Nothing else. Don't fool yourself that we're doing more, because we're not. Call it what it is. And I'm happy that the minister is helping the ladies under the tents, because they also deserve a nice place. But there are so many more important things right now that the theatre department should be focusing on that they are not focusing on. And no, Delta ain't coming. You know, I think the India spectacle is going to become fireworks just now. And if our Minister of Finance doesn't take a stance, I think we're going to have some serious problems in this country before Christmas. Telling everybody everything going good is contrary to what the IMF believes. With the economic growth of this country stagnating now and going to be a mere 3% compared to the 10% of last year, tells you that tough times are ahead. And we have to be honest and real with this, because if we are not, we're going to be burning ourselves unnecessarily. The shortage at the KPMS is not being addressed as a serious problem locally, while clearly the Council for Law Enforcement believes it is. I haven't heard of any plans where we're going to do any kind of possible funding to get this done and build back stronger and better our police force. I need you all to understand, no? Not because you believe you're doing a lot of things by writing a lot of things in the country packages, it means you are getting a lot done, because you're not. It is not in sync with what's really happening in this country. I want to close today with a few things. Today it's beautiful, it's nice outside, it's sunshine, but I need us to pay attention, because Wednesday, Thursday, there might be weather. I don't know if the weather survived. I haven't seen it yet for today. I don't know if the weather survived the weekend that was coming through, because there was some high atmospheric winds that might have roughed up the weather coming, the tropical wave coming. But if it didn't, we were going to get some serious weather come Wednesday, Thursday. I need you to be prepared for such, because the roads will become our trenches. Our trenches are still not cleaned. They clean a few trenches. I don't understand why government is not giving the parcels to the company. Limitless that won. They won it. Why are you holding it back? The young man was good enough to knock down the government building. So why are you not giving him the parcels? He won it. SOB, everybody checked it, you said. Government checked it. It was good. So why you ain't giving it to him? I'm going to start calling the name now. They won it. Limitless won it. But up until today, you're refusing to give it to him. You called him in for all kind of meetings. What? You already had the meetings with him. Give him the contracts. Or you have to give it to somebody else. What is it exactly, Minister? Because I'm coming for you. Tell you that already. I'm going to expose this nonsense. I'm sick and tired of it. Others might be afraid to say something. I am not. And the facts will be shown. I notice that once again, our classrooms ain't ready, so our children ain't going to school. For the next 2 weeks, the academy is still closed. I passed yesterday, I saw the amount of scaffolds up by the one by Sheik, and then I went up by the other one, that one too full of scaffolds. And I'm saying, what's going on with the planning? Is anybody checking the planning on these schools? We haven't had no hurricanes or anything that could have delayed the work, that now again 2 weeks of schooling is lost. Because it means that someplace else they're going to have to take back those 2 weeks by those schools to be able to get the child up to par. Think about it, people. That's what it is, you know. And it puts a lot of parents that had plans. They take their vacation from work also to be with their children. Now the children got to stay home for another 2 weeks while they got to go back to work. We got to look at it. Minister of Fiat, instead of reviewing the moratorium to take away T&G plates and taxi plates from our people, we should look at assisting those with the licenses presently on how to exploit their license. And maybe the trust fund criteria, Minister, with your help, can be reviewed so that people can reach and meet the criteria so that they can exploit and maybe buy some cars for their rental companies or get the tea on a bus so they can do what they have to do or what they plan to do instead of taking it from them. Because taking it from them and giving it to somebody else is not helping the people. It's just taking away from what they were trying to do to now not allowing them to do it. That's what it means. No more, no less. You want to help the rental companies, Minister? Stop all the rentals with French number plates. Stop them. Because you go to the airport, that's what they're renting. You go by the harbor, that's what they're renting. So how do you expect the fellow who got a Dutch number plate rental company to survive in a world that is overloaded with French rental plates that don't pay no taxes on this side? Because once that number plate on, it's on for life. Every year you want plate money here. Think about that, Minister. Go solve that problem first. Before you start coming about, you want change moratorium, you want review moratorium. Listen, man, all you're doing is hurting the people, the local people. That's all you're doing. No more, no less. Let me close off today with this special St. Maarten weekend we had, because it left a lot of strange taste in mouths from various people and also from various organizations. Facebook lit up, and both sides defended the rights to say what they said regarding the Marshall Montana show, the concert, and the Juve that followed. Again, everybody have a right to their opinion and their observations, just like me. So let me give you minds, and then we see where we go from here. In my opinion, we had like a mini carnival show, because it was a big international show, and followed by a Juve on Sunday morning so that the promoters could make money at the expense of the taxpayer. And you said, no, but the promoter paid for everything. No, the promoter didn't pay for everything. The promoter didn't pay the 10,000-15,000 guilders that the police had to pay in overtime for their officers to run behind a juve or work in the shows. When a promoter asks for a permit, he pays 150 guilders. But the police has to work, like it or not. You can't run a juve with just some security guards. Because when Bacchanal break out, and you know it's going to break out, because people can't hold the liquor, then you need the police. And these are one of the things that happen. Now, again, there was a juve on a Sunday. And the discussion for me was, why Sunday? Why not a Saturday or why not a Friday? But in reality, why even a juve? Juve is normally a carnival thing. And now suddenly we have a juve in the summer following a big show. The artists of the big show are not in the juve. They went home. The question is this. When the carnival committee does this, when they do carnival, the council of ministers calls them in and tells them, listen, please, no parades, no juve on Sunday. Don't do it. Talk to the council of churches, etc. I come to an agreement on which they can be done. If I'm wrong, please correct me. Was that done this time around? Why was the permit then just given? Because I don't believe the churches were spoken to by the organizers. Now, I know the churches went in way before already and spoke to the Prime Minister about this and asked that consideration be given for the Sunday. What came out of it, I don't know. All I know is there was a juve on Sunday. And I don't know what changed this time. Look, juve, in my opinion, is when everybody gets a chance to jam for free. That's the one parade that you never had to pay for. That's what made juve. This time around, you have to pay to jam. You have to pay for t-shirts and all those type of things. Look, in the carnival time, they just have the balloon jump up where we just do that. But in the juve, you can buy a shot sometimes, they give you drinks, because they just have little groups you can join and then you pay for drinks too. But this time it became a big money making business. And I'm saying to myself, what message are we sending? I don't know. You know, listen, I don't go juve anymore. I look at it on the side. I can't go around the pond no more. The legs don't leave me go. I'm just trying to figure out if the concept of what we did is the right concept. And I'll tell you at the end why I'm saying this. I also realized that the roads remained quite dirty after the juve. I went to buy bread and I know that they say you get what you pay for. But for God's sakes, the government has to ensure that the road is left in a proper condition. I drove across the festival village this morning and it's still littered with a bunch of bottles outside. We're a whole 24 hours further and there's still a bunch of bottles alongside the road. We paid close to 10 to 15,000 guilders on overtime for police officers in a time when we can't even pay them their good overtime that is due to them for years already, or their proper scales. But we go and we create an overtime on a juve that is not part of the government's calendar. Yet, we pay for it as the taxpayers. So the taxpayers are paying for promoters to make money. That's all it is. No more, no less. Or for bands to make money. No more, no less. Let's not sugarcoat it. Let's not get upset with one camper. I tell you what I think. That's how I see it. No more, no less. Now again, for me, it is that we need to understand that if this is what we're going to do as government, then make the criteria known so everybody knows they can go knock on the door, ask government for a permit for a juve, and make sure that you have the police there, government, so I can then sell some slots to bands and to groups and so, and make my money, and you pay for security, etc., etc. Because that's what it is, people, that's what it is. And I think we got to just set the criteria, what we're going to allow and what we're not going to allow. You know, the position of the church, I understand it and I respect it. But I want to ask the church, speak up, speak out, speak up about the other ills in this country. Because a juve is not an ill. Unfortunately, it was on a Sunday. But it's of a coming together of people enjoying music. But there are a lot of other ills in this country that the church is well aware of, but says nothing. And that's unfortunate. Education is so important to us, as the minister said in his message welcoming the children back, that he decided to keep a juve before the school opened. Most of them might now be in Anguilla, actually, celebrating August Monday, because that's what that is today. But again, I believe when it comes to education, our policies in this country are properly screwed up. Clearly, there was not enough thought given to this whole juve. And that you can read when you read the stories on both sides of the fence, on Facebook, WhatsApp messages, etc. Again, like I said, nothing personally against a juve. But a juve, in my opinion, has its place in the carnival season. That's where it belongs. Doesn't belong attached to a show after the fact. But I believe, personally, this is my personal belief, that what we saw over the weekend was a test run to see who organizing the next carnival. This was the bid. Since they couldn't do the bid, they run a test run to see what they're going to do next year. Just my humble observation. Elections, people, are in November 2023. Bunks says so. And a lot of them, you know, when the blah blah envy get involved, and when the spin doctors them start to walk, everybody gonna start to laugh. Elections are November 2023. Remember, we need to empower our people. The Now Party gonna empower you. Give us that chance. We will empower you all. And people might say, oh, he this or he that. But one thing they can't say, he don't walk. I ain't afraid of walk, you know. Never have been, never will be. I have always shown the human part of who a real Samaritan can be if he wants to be. That's me. This broadcast, this podcast, I need you all to share it. Share it with your friends. Share it with your family. Talk to them. Tell them, open your eyes. And then Andrew Dick, I said it. People gonna offer you a lot of money. People gonna offer you money. Take it and burn them. Because if they believe that you're worth a quart of 50 cents a day, then they don't deserve your support. You need to work for them every day. I have always worked for people. I have always given it my best, and I'm planning to give it better yet this time around. Bunks is out today. Bunks gone for the rest of the day. I wish all you a blessed week. Watch the weather. I'm going to come back if the weather is getting ticklish. I'm going to come back, give all you a heads up. Other than that, take care. Hopefully, I see you all tomorrow night with Chris when we open the shop early.